Hey y'all, Zelda here. I am coming to you today with a timeless pick a skull tarot reading. I have 3 different piles. I'm going to be doing this very much in the style of the week ahead tarot, but it is going to be intended and offered as a timeless reading. So anytime that you are feeling like you're finding your way here, that you're needing a little bit of reflection, guidance, this is for you. So I'm going to show you the 3 different skulls, and you can go to the description and find the timestamp for each of the 3 different skulls, and the one that you feel drawn to, you'll skip ahead to that part. Before I do that, I'm going to let you know which decks we're going to be using. So the first deck is the Luminous Void Tarot deck. It's really pretty, kind of watercolor, so that's the tarot deck. I have the Dragon Path Oracle and the Prairie Majesty Oracle. So those are the 3 cards that you will have in each reading. So the first skull is Selah. Selah is a jasper skull. And Selah is pile number 1. Pile number 2 is Donovan. Donovan is a grape agate skull. So if Donovan is calling to you, that is pile number 2. And pile number 3 is Humbert. Humbert is a Himalayan quartz skull. And so if Humbert is calling, that is pile number 3. I'm gonna tune in. So what that means is I'm gonna spritz this around, call in guides. If you would like to do that with me, please stick around. If not, you can hop ahead to the timestamp in the description for the pile that you chose. Can't wait to see you there. The spritz that I'm gonna be using today is the Golden Sphinx. If you feel called to that, it's available on my website. I call upon my own guides, ancestors, spirit teams, and lineages from this and every lifetime. I call upon the wisdom of my past, present, and future selves. I call upon the guides, the wise and well ancestors of each and every person watching this video, and upon their wisdom so that they may receive the messages that are intended for them and utilize their sacred power of discernment to know which ones they may leave behind. Okay? Pile number 1, you chose Selah. Let's see which card Selah chose. So, the tarot card for Selah is the Queen of Wands. Dragon Path Oracle is magic and manifestation. And the Prairie Majesty Oracle is hold, prairie soil. What riches do I carry within? It feels really perfect that Selah chose these cards. It feels like it harnesses some of Selah's integral wisdom, which is around this immense power or potency held within the earth. And not just within the earth that we walk on, but within our own bodies, our own selves, our own cells, as earth, as elemental, as spirit taken form. And this feels like the Queen of Wands, the riches within, and the magic and manifestation really feels like this part of the process where like things are kind of like the wheels are starting to like turn and come to life. And it feels like there is an unlocking or an unfolding of some of this integral magic right now. It feels like this question, what riches do I carry within, is a bit of an ask, right? Almost like a directive to turn inwards and to see what unique gifts and benefits you have to offer forward to the world that maybe you have been letting simmer or alchemize. What parts of your unique process are sacred and valuable to share outwards and to let radiate into the world. It feels like there is this opportunity with the magic and manifestation. Both of these on their own. Also, it's 7, which is perfect because 7 is the number for this year numerologically of the Chariot year, and feels very much like this integral kind of offering forward of how to invite that like the gathering, like the magic that you've been gathering and accumulating. The manifestation feels like it's finally kind of like congealing and ready to be shared. And that's a challenging moment, right? That it's almost like something has been like cooking or brewing within you, and it's ready to be like offered or starting to be offered. And so the question of hold is kind of like, what have you been gathering? What have you been nurturing? What's been inspiring and building? And is there some way that wants to become more solid, actually? The manifestation feels like, how does something come from this existence, this state of existing everywhere, of being in constant potential, to actually being able to be like held within your hand, right? And that feels like an earthly elemental quality where it like comes into form in this kind of 3-dimensional space. And this is a process that doesn't happen like overnight. Sometimes we don't even know, right? And that can sometimes be part of the challenge. We don't even know what it will take to kind of move that from the imaginal into the tangible realm. And you can see my little animal moving around in the corner. I'm just tuning in again with Selah since I got a little distracted, and sometimes that's a gift. So the Queen of Wands has this alchemy too, of the Queen being this double elemental of like the Queen for water and Wands for fire. And it does feel like bringing together multiple pieces. Like if you've been simmering with something for a while, how can you take a next step? If you've been working at something for a long time and feel like something is ready to shift, how can you do that, right? I kind of see this quality of like alchemy is not about like you always need this one ingredient. It's about like finding the ingredients that unlock. There's that kind of like gear opening again, right? It's almost like the answer to the riddle for what you're needing next. So the next ingredient that can unlock or that can support you. I'm also seeing this cat on their shoulder and noticing how I had an animal here. And I wonder about animal supports for you, whether that is a beloved pet or animal companion that you have in this lifetime, whether it is an animal that you previously had, like that is now with you in spirit, or whether it is even an animal energy or empowerment that you hold some wisdom to in your own DNA and structure. But is that actually, because of this earthly elemental wisdom, there's kind of this invitation to be in relationship and to kind of help harness your wisdom through these other qualities of enjoyable relating, of enjoyable traction. There's also a relationship in each of these cards, right? There's a figure and an animal. There's two dragons in this. And even with this, there's like the containment of that. There's like the roots and the soil. And holding implies something that is held, right? And so how are you holding space for yourself? But how are you also locating containers that allow you to hold and unlock the wisdom that you have within? See if Selah has any last messages to offer you. I'm hearing the words go forth. Go forth at your own pace. There is no change too small to be impactful. Go forth at your own pace. There is no change too small to be impactful. Okay. May it be so. That is Selah's parting message to you all. I hope that this message has found you well. And if you would like to receive more messages like this, you are welcome to check out my channel or subscribe. Thank you so much. Let's move on to pile number 2. Pile number 2, you chose Donovan. Let's see what messages Donovan has for you today. The tarot card is the 6 of Wands. The Dragon Oracle was an inversion, so we'll just take that into consideration, even though I wasn't planning on reading it. It showed up anyways. Father Time, 4. And the Prairie Majesty Oracle is the Bison, B. How can I know myself as absolute? Let's see what Donovan would like to start with. So Donovan's showing me this image of sitting in this field and having the lightning kind of come down and strike, and having these parts of self like a cocoon, like not the actual self, just like these layers or a shell around the self, like coming off in like these big like eggshell type of pieces, and this kind of like hatching, like a hatching, which is also a kind of birth. And the image that I just shared, how I'm relating that to these cards feels very much like, with this Father Time kind of inverted, it feels a little bit like, what if linear time was less linear than we believed? What if the self was more absolute or enduring? All the parts of self were more enduring than we were led to believe. And when I see those parts of self kind of falling away, it feels very much like this. I see this being with their arms up. And a dog, maybe. And I just feel this like stretching out after the hatching. There are constantly new versions of yourself being born. Every moment, in every moment, there's an opportunity to begin again, to be yourself anew, to be more yourself than you were before. And there is always time to go back and nurture these parts of yourself that long to be celebrated and to be seen. And as we can do that more and more, we also get to know that there are parts of us that are enduring and absolute, and there are parts of us that are ephemeral and momentary and fleeting. And we get to experience those in equal, enduring measure. We get to experience them in fullness, and we get to experience them in reflection. We get to learn from them as time goes on. Donovan is very playful, mysterious. He's a little elusive, honestly. He's like wanting to share, but also he's like a guide, right? That kind of like the Cheshire Cat or something. Maybe a little less devious, but like how the Cheshire Cat will like run up ahead of you and like you'll get lost a little bit, kind of trying to keep up. This is kind of what it feels like, right? Very like you're going to make it, but he's not going to hold your hand the entire way. That like part of the uncertainty or like wondering if you're lost or not, like that is part of where some of his magic lies. And so it's interesting because like the message feels very much like following breadcrumbs or something, like coming up to the next part and being like, oh, that's interesting, I learned that about myself, and then like running up to the next one and being like, okay, a little bit more of myself integrated. And it's interesting because in that process, right, of doing that, this question of how can you be, like, what part of you is enduring from moment to moment, and how can you love all of those parts of yourself? There also feels like there's some aspect of like responsibility or something that, like, not accepting blame, but actually like being accountable. When I see this, right, kind of in the reversal, but also just here, Father Time reminds me, because it's a 4, a little bit of the Emperor card, and this kind of like having agency over your domain. And all of these different versions of you have different capacities and different abilities to be present, to be engaged, to be alive with whatever is going on in the moment. And there feels like this aspect of like admitting that we are changing and evolving and becoming more and more of ourselves means that we are also acknowledging that these past versions of ourselves were just a breadcrumb that our soul was following to the next more alive, more accurate, more in sync version of ourself. And so there's gonna be flaws. There's gonna be errors. There's gonna be mistakes that we need to be accountable for as we go along this path. And so there also feels like you get to have some part of yourself that you know is absolute, so that you don't get to get tangled in the trappings of each moment. Being accountable to our past self is part of our revision process. It's part of our learning process. And so it also feels like with the 6 of Wands, we get to celebrate and appreciate each step of our journey so that we don't get latched onto it and over-identified with it, so that we can be in our absolute self or our eternal self rather than being encumbered or bogged down in the momentary iterations of ourself. You get to be a work in process. Donovan is encouraging you to embrace that evolutionary process and to see it as exciting, even delightful or inspiring. The wands have that energy, and Donovan brings the lightning. So I think that's it. Thank you, group 2. I hope that this message served you, and of course, anything that didn't, please feel free to release. If you would like more messages like that, you can check out my page or subscribe. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you next time. Group 3. You chose Humbert. Let's see what cards Humbert chose for us. The tarot card is the 2 of Cups. The dragon path is Illuminare, and the warble of the Dixisel. The warble of the Dixisel. Am I singing my song? I feel this like radiating power from the heart, like a pulsing, you know what it looks like a lighthouse, almost like this pulsing light, a beacon from the heart. And with this Illuminare, this feels like what part of your song, what part of your offerings for the world have you been holding close to your heart to protect? Maybe to protect you, maybe you feel like you're protecting others from it, maybe you feel like it's too much or not enough. What part of your song, and by song I really mean like the way you express yourself, what part of your self-expression have you been stifling or dampening for fear of not being fully accepted or loved or understood? This part of your song is the lighthouse that allows other people to find you who have that magnetic attraction, who you, just by singing your song, will be safe harbor for. Humbert is a bear guide. He's a little bear, but he's also a very ancestral oriented guide. Really thinks about these long-term ancestral lineages, both lineages in the sense of like from this lifetime, but also lineages like intergalactic, interdimensional lineages in terms of like your soul guidance that I don't think is fully separate from these other components, even though it is nuanced, right? They're not the same, and that's okay. That's important to be discerning in that way, and they inform each other. But he is this ancestral, like, just feels like the part of your soul that like remembers all of these things that you came here to offer, and that through time we just become quieter in our song sometimes, or we feel like we have to shout our song to be heard, or we learn a song and other people say, oh my gosh, I love that song, and then suddenly we feel like we don't have permission to sing something else. This feels like you're in a time where the light is being shown onto your own unique gift and self-expression. Something is being illuminated. And in this way, it feels very much like being illuminated from your soul purpose, like what you're really up to here. Why? What are you doing here, right? Like that feeling of like singing that song is going to feel so like coming home to the self. And that's something that you deserve. You deserve to feel like you can come home in a loving, gentle way to yourself to sing your song. It also is brave. It's also okay if you are listening to this and you feel like, well, I don't know what my song is, because that too is part of the process of, you know, the playful illumination of what you want to offer, what you want to give, what you want to receive. How do you want to pour forth from and receive in your cups? I can feel Humbert's putting his hands like this, and it feels very much like feels like really loving, and it feels like, I don't know if you've ever had a kid who's like just like gently held your face and like been like, oh, I love you. That's the energy it feels like, is like, ah, this gentle, loving, like, I actually invite you, if you're watching this and you're sticking in there, right? Do this with me now. Just put with some loving gentleness, like your hands on your cheeks, even if you want to rest them in your hands, and just like let yourself sit and feel held. And if anything is coming up for you now around your song, how you really deeply want to be seen, what part of you deeply is longing to be loved? Just invite that part here. I can feel Humbert's face so close to mine that it's like he's breathing and our breath kind of gets mixed together, that kind of feeling. There's some sort of union, it feels like, with this part of self that is fertile, that is like going to be valuable or useful to you in some way. This part, whatever part has been like longing to be seen, is not like just demanding attention for no reason. It's actually coming forth with a gift for you. Anything else, Humbert? Humbert says that if it's hard for you to identify this part of yourself, this is a really specific message, so if it doesn't resonate, that's totally fine. If it is hard for you to identify what you feel when you're with other people, like you tend to maybe identify more as a people pleaser, he says that bears and their symbolism of like retreating and solitude and hibernation, that their wisdom may have something to offer you right now, that like retreating into your den of your soul, like into a very safe, loving, welcoming den that you've created for yourself, may be one of the ways that you actually get to have this process with yourself. And that it's okay if you don't know how to do this just like right off the top of your head, that he's encouraging, like, sometimes it's illuminated and this is the beginning of the process. This is not the final evolution. This is like beginning this relationship with this part of the self that is going to blossom into so much more. And that having some solitude, having some retreat into the self with the energy of tending to you, that may be a way to access a little bit more of like the inner compass that you're looking for. Okay. Thank you so much, group 3. If you would like to receive more messages like this, feel free to subscribe or check out my page for other things. If you'd like to learn more about the work that I do or connect to your own crystal skulls or guides, you can visit my website. Until next time, thank you so much. Mwah.